police seized in the raid on Diddy's Miami Beach mansion. And the judge signed an immunity order to force Diddy's former executive assistant to testify.
Diddy's ongoing case has taken a wild turn after his lawyer unexpectedly rushed out of the court the moment a shocking audio clip was played. The tension in the courtroom was real and the stakes just got higher. What could be so powerful on that tape to make a lawyer leave like that? This was not part of the plan and now everything is spinning out of control. Join us as we delve into the details of what happened, the reaction, and what comes next in this jaw-dropping case of how Diddy's lawyer suddenly quits. In September 2024, Anthony Rico joined the legal team defending Diddy not long after federal charges landed the music mogul behind bars. Rico did not show up as just any lawyer looking for fame. He brought decades of legal expertise with him. His name is known in major federal courtrooms and his background includes working on some of the most serious terrorism cases in recent United States history, like those connected to the World Trade Center bombing and the 1998 United States Embassy bombings. Rico's profile on Forum Law School's website gives a strong idea of just how serious he is. It points out that he has served as the lead defense lawyer in around 45 federal cases. That kind of record shows he has handled some of the toughest courtroom challenges out there. Besides his work in court, Rico has also spent years teaching law at Forum and he has been practicing since 1982. With that kind of background, his presence on Diddy's legal team added serious weight. When Rico joined Diddy's team, he was not alone. Another famous attorney, Alexander Shapiro, came on board around the same time. Shapiro had worked with Sam Bankman-Fried, who by chance was also being held in the same detention center as Diddy. With Rico and Shapiro added to the already powerful team led by Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Gallegos, Diddy's defense looked stronger than ever. During this period, several key developments in the case were happening, including hearings before trial and talks about the handling of evidence. On October 10, 2024, Judge Aaron Submanian announced that the trial would start on May 5, 2025. He also addressed concerns about information leaks by federal agents. A couple of months later, on December 18, there was another court hearing. This one was short and prosecutors talked about sharing evidence, but they did not bring up anything about audio files. On February 21, 2025, Rico suddenly filed a motion to remove himself from the case. Rico did not share why he wanted off the team. Attorney-client privilege kept the reason hidden, but people noticed that his exit came without warning and soon after other big moments in the case. What made it even more unbelievable was how deeply involved Rico had been. He was not just helping behind the scenes. He made clear to the judge that he had to travel long distances to attend hearings, showing that he was emotionally invested. That kind of commitment did not match with someone ready to walk away. Meanwhile, there are several reasons why a lawyer might suddenly step back from a case, especially one this high profile. Usually, one of the top reasons is money, but in this situation that did not seem likely. Diddy is wealthy and clearly able to pay, so maybe it was something else, possibly a disagreement over how to handle the defense or even a conflict with another person connected to the case. Health concerns could also explain it. Without more details in the paperwork though, the real reason remains a mystery, and legally it is not something Rico had to explain. Some wondered if the issue was related to someone else involved in the case, perhaps even a past client. It is possible that Rico had represented or spoken with someone tied to the prosecution, making it improper for him to continue on Diddy's side. That kind of situation would have forced him to step back even if he did not want to. Despite Rico's sudden departure, Diddy's legal team remained solid. Other lawyers still had his back, so Rico's withdrawal did not slow anything down. The paperwork made clear that the rest of the team could keep going without delays. Prosecutors were not worried about the change either. Before stepping down, Rico had already spoken to Agnifilo, so it was not a total surprise to the defense team. Most people expected the judge to approve his motion without issue. Still, the timing stirred up plenty of questions. Interestingly, Rico left just after Diddy's lawyers had pushed to get one of the charges dismissed. That particular charge is listed as the third count in the indictment. The defense argued that the charge came from a law with a troubling past, pointing out that it had rarely been used against white defendants. The law, known as the Mann Act, was originally titled the White Slave Traffic Act. It bans taking people across state or international borders for illegal activities. Diddy's lawyers claimed the law had a racially biased history. Looking at all these twists and turns, the situation left many guessing about what led a lawyer like Anthony Rico, someone with so much courtroom experience and a long record of defending clients in serious federal cases, to leave so suddenly. His exit did not seem like a move made lightly, and with no clear reason offered, people continued to speculate. Whether it had anything to do with behind-the-scenes evidence or not, Rico's departure remained one of the more surprising moves in an already complex case. But why did he leave? Bailing out. As people everywhere kept wondering why Anthony Rico suddenly walked away from defending Diddy, whispers quickly turned into full-blown chatter. The streets of social media buzzed with wild ideas, many suggesting that an audio recording might have been the reason. People talked non-stop, tying Rico's exit to this recording that they claimed had been played in court. But the most damaging piece of evidence, the 2016 surveillance video, did not even show up in the courtroom until May 2025. That video showed Diddy putting his hands on his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura at a hotel in Los Angeles. The clip also included audio of Cassie calling for help from security. But by the time the court was set to play the footage, Rico was already long gone. He had walked away from the defense team months before. What is known for sure is that Rico had a talk with lead defense attorney Mark Agnifilo before leaving. That showed there was at least some conversation or coordination between them, even if no one knows exactly what was said. Rico leaving did not just fade quietly into the background. People on Reddit and X went wild with their thoughts. Many described the exit as mysterious and unexpected. Some believed Rico might have seen something that changed his mind, maybe evidence that made him uncomfortable. But if he did, it did not happen in public court. Nothing was confirmed. The lack of details only added fuel to the fire. With the case so big, it did not take much to get the public talking louder. As the trial continues, who stays or leaves the defense table is important. And it is not just Rico who has avoided the case. Joe Tacopina, a well-known legal expert, once had the chance to take on Sean Diddy Combs's case but chose not to. He explained clearly that his decision had nothing to do with any dislike for Diddy or doubts about the case. In fact, he believed the defense could be strong if handled properly. From his view, the whole matter depended mostly on one key point, whether or not there was consent. He admitted that he did not have all the facts, but from what he understood, it all came down to whether the people involved had agreed willingly or not. Tacopina questioned if people were truly forced or if they agreed to take part in certain actions because they wanted to be close to Diddy. He mentioned how people in Diddy's circle might have received expensive gifts like houses or cars. These kinds of perks could make someone want to stay close to him, maybe even influence their choices. He suggested that perhaps some of the accusations were coming from people who had once accepted such things willingly and were now looking for more. When asked why he decided not to take the case, Tacopina pointed to his schedule. He was already busy with other high-profile trials, including one involving A$AP Rocky. So according to him, the choice to walk away from Diddy's defense had more to do with timing and prior commitments than anything personal or legal. He also touched on another rumor that his good relationship with Jay-Z and Roc Nation had something to do with his decision. He did admit that he had a strong connection with both, even representing several people in Jay-Z's circle. However, he was quick to say that this had no influence at all on his decision. He had heard others suggest that there might be some kind of tension between Jay-Z and Diddy, but he had never seen or heard anything to support that. He said that no one from Roc Nation ever asked him to step away from the case and the entire idea had likely been blown out of proportion by a media outlet. He mentioned it was probably something that got stretched out during a radio talk show and was not based on any real facts. Meanwhile, the trial is already ongoing. Diddy's federal trial officially began in May 2025 and quickly turned into a major event, with the hearings taking place at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The location itself attracted a great deal of attention. The media showed up daily, covering every twist and turn. On top of that, the public followed closely, eager to see what would happen. The case quickly became one of the biggest in the entertainment world. The trial was expected to last around 8 weeks, and every single moment was being closely watched. Jury selection began on May 5th and it was not easy. The process was long and detailed. People who might sit on the jury had to fill out very personal forms. They were asked about what they knew about the case, what kind of media they had seen about it, and even if they had any past experiences with the involved charges. The questions went further, asking about their views on law enforcement, their opinions about hip-hop artists, and their thoughts on serious topics like illegal substances, intimate encounter violence, and relationships involving multiple partners. This intense screening process showed how serious the court was about choosing the right jury. Because Diddy is a well-known public figure and the accusations are sensitive and serious, the court had to be careful. The goal was to find people who could be fair despite all the news and social media stories they might have seen. With so much attention on this case both inside and outside the courtroom, it was clear that the trial would remain in the public eye for a long time and be remembered for years to come. By May 12, 2025, the courtroom was set for a long and complicated legal battle. 12 jurors and 6 alternates were finally selected after a careful process. Among them were 12 men and 6 women, and with them confirmed, the trial could officially begin. Everything was ready for the lawyers to deliver their opening remarks and introduce witnesses. For the defense, now led by attorney Mark Agnifilo, the team included other lawyers like Tenny Gallegos and Brian Steele. Together they built their case around the idea that what happened between the accused and the alleged victims had been completely consensual. They argued that no one had been forced into anything and that everyone involved had something to gain from their connection to Sean Diddy Combs. Joe Tacopina had previously hinted at this approach. The defense tried to show the alleged victims as willing adults who benefited from being close to someone rich and famous. When the trial finally began, the defense argued that Diddy's actions were part of a mutual adult lifestyle, not crimes. They claimed everything that happened was between consenting adults. But the prosecution had a very different take. They described a long pattern of control, pressure, and violence. For them, the case was not about choices but about power and fear. Consent sat at the heart of everything being argued, and there were witnesses to attest to it. Then the trial hit a big moment. The prosecution brought in a key witness, a former security guard who had been there in 2016 during the hotel incident. His words carried weight. He told the court what he saw when the hallway video was recorded. According to him, Diddy later tossed a bag of money at him inside the hotel room. The move was meant to shut him up. His testimony, calm but steady, added more layers to the prosecution's claims. The court had already decided to allow the 2016 video as evidence, even though Diddy's lawyers tried to block it, saying CNN had altered it. The judge disagreed. He said it was fair to show and it did not harm Diddy's case unfairly. The video, leaked a year earlier in 2024, had already shocked many. It showed Diddy being physically aggressive with Cassie. He later said he was sorry in public, but the damage was done. One of the most surprising moments came when a man named Daniel Phillips took the stand. He had managed male strippers for events like bachelorette parties. He shared a very troubling story from back in 2013. According to Phillips, he had been paid to sleep with Cassie Ventura in a hotel room in New York City. He described the moment in shocking detail, saying Diddy was sitting in the corner watching everything, wearing a white robe and covering his face with a bandana. Phillips's story became even more intense as he continued. His words painted a deeply disturbing picture. While he spoke, his family was present in the courtroom. They listened as more graphic details came out, and at one point, his daughters could no longer handle it. They got up and left the room. The allegations he described were in line with what prosecutors had previously called freak-offs, wild events they said involved illegal substances, pressure, and sometimes exploitation. Prosecutors claimed these situations were not simply parties. They were dangerous setups where people were manipulated. On the other side, the defense insisted everything was agreed upon by all parties, even if it sounded strange to the public. However, Daniel Phillips stated that he had earlier been told he was going to perform at a fun party like he usually did. But when he arrived at the Gramercy Park Hotel, things were far from normal. The picture Phillips painted was strange and unsettling. Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani gave his thoughts on the trial. He explained how important the video evidence would be in cases like this. Seeing is powerful. Cassie, who was set to testify in court, was a pregnant woman, which could sway the jury emotionally. She had clearly experienced physical violence. This meant that the defense lawyers needed to be extremely careful. If they pushed too hard or seemed too cold, they risked making the jury dislike them, no matter how strong their arguments were. The legal strategy had to strike a balance. Rahmani believed the defense would talk about things like jealousy and the long relationship the woman had with Diddy. She had stayed with him for more than 10 years. That fact could raise questions for the jury. To explain this, the prosecution planned to bring in an expert to talk about how victims sometimes stay with their offender for years. It is not always about logic. It can be about fear, control, or hope that things will get better. That expert might help jurors understand why someone would not walk away immediately. At the heart of the case were very serious legal issues: force, fraud, and coercion. These are the things prosecutors must prove to win the case. Their strongest argument was that Diddy's parties, the so-called freak-offs, were not just wild events. They believed people had been tricked or pushed into doing things they did not want to do, sometimes while under the influence of hard substances. Meanwhile, the defense painted a totally different picture. According to them, these were simply adult events with people who knew exactly what they were doing. They said that just because something was unusual or outside social norms did not make it illegal. Another major moment in the trial came earlier in the month. On May 1st, it was revealed that Diddy had refused a plea deal from the prosecution. The details of that offer were not made public, but his decision to go to trial suggested that he was either very confident in his legal team or completely unwilling to admit to any wrongdoing. That choice raised the stakes dramatically. Outside the criminal courtroom, the storm was even bigger. Diddy faced more than 63 civil lawsuits, each one accusing him of different kinds of misconduct, everything from harassment to serious attack. These claims stretched across decades, starting in the 1970s and going all the way to 2023. Diddy, however, dismissed all of it. He claimed people just wanted money. Even though the civil cases were legally separate, they added a heavy weight to everything happening in the criminal trial. They shaped public opinion and made it harder for Diddy to escape attention. If he is found guilty on all charges, the consequences will be severe. The minimum prison time is 15 years, but the punishment could last a lifetime. With so much at stake and so many accusations, the courtroom has become the center of a massive, very serious drama that continues to unfold every day. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe and also click the next video shown on your screen.